Hey everybody, Mr. O'Donnell here, talking to you about our first actually, lesson at home to be able to prep you for the next day. It's been a long time coming. It's been taking a while doing this, but hey, we're learning. So we talked before about shots, remember, that is how close or far away you can get, right? Extreme close up, right? Establishing shot. And then we talked about angles. This one is about what we call motion. Okay, the word motion, like we talked about in the previous lessons, is the word can have a lot of different meanings. So motion, right? Shots can mean things and angles can mean things. Motion can mean lots of things. So take, for example, here, you have outside your house motion detectors, motion lights, motion cameras, motion. The planetary motion. All the planets, they move around. You know who first came up with how that all does? Sir Isaac Newton and his laws of motion. Also, what about in the courtroom? You got that? I declare a motion to suppress or a motion to remove I'm not a lawyer, but there's motions in that. What about in the world of sports? Yes, football. Anybody know footballers out there? What happens if a guy before the snap starts running sideways? It's called motion. In basketball, you have this as well too. Let's say it's a whole offense. Run motion, motion. Oh, that's it. No, there's more. Oh, I don't feel so good. Ooh, this boat ride's making me kind of a little nauseous. I think I got a case of motion sickness. Oh, even here in the movies, it's green screen stuff or the little dots. Well, they follow and track they can capture the motion. It's actually referred to as motion capture or mocap. We'll talk more about that later. Even more in the movies, the whole idea about the organization that gives awards and manages the movie industry is the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science. Motion pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, motion equals actually movement. Okay. And that is basically having the camera move, not just stay in one spot, but move all around. Motion equals movement. And the question asked is, why would you want to have your camera move? Scratch your goatee. Think about it for a second. Do you have one? I do, but it makes me think better. Basically, the camera is going to move to do something else. It's mimicking our head, what we're going to do. And so here's some things. One, it can have us follow the action that's happening. Things are going that way. Well, let me go that way. There could be something over there. The camera could move to reveal some new information that I didn't know. Open up the door. Good guy, bad guy, something else is behind the door. I can emphasize the depth of something. Helps involve us as the viewer, increase the energy, help me give a continuity or the feeling and the flow of a story. So there's reasons for motion. We're going to watch this in class next time. You don't necessarily need to see some examples of motion in filmmaking, but your general definition behind the eye of Mr. Spielberg here is the reason why you choose to move the camera is simply this. I want the audience to be more involved because, like we said, the camera is like our head. Okay. And so where it goes, we want the viewer's attention to go. So move that thing around a little bit. Okay. It used to be much more challenging to be able to have camera movement. Can you guess? What's the reason why? Old timey movie camera. It was big, really heavy, awkward. Plus, if you move it, it's heavy. Then you're also going to jumble around the inner workings of the stuff. So you're like, not so much. But over time, it got smaller. And then it was, well, how do I get the thing to move itself? Well, let's put this thing on wheels. And movie makers wanted to be able to make us feel like we're in the action. So here's a great, phenomenal, one of the most classic Hollywood movies of all time is called Ben-Hur. And so they wanted you to feel what it's like in the end during these chariot races. So you strap it to a camera that can move as fast as a horse. Horses bounce. So how about like this? Here's a behind the scenes shot of the filming of Ben-Hur. And you can see it's a truck, good old timey truck. And you strap a camera to the thing and just horses go. And yeah, so movie makers, filmmakers have always been creative in terms of trying to be able to all these ideas about motion, about making me feel I'm moving with it. And so the best way in which to be able to do that is simply be able to put the camera on wheels. And not necessarily wheels on the camera on the tripod, but create these systems, these rigs, these setups in which that you can be able to do that. And so here you can see a very creative way of laying down some tracks and plan out the shot, and you can be able to have a very slow, smooth movement that goes along with the characters. Anybody see another way, another interesting camera to try to be able to get some cool motion shots? Just the thing in the back. this thing. We'll talk more about in a second. Yes. So, and if you want to see more about that, here's a great example of how to be able to get a really innovative shot. This is from the movie La La Land, and what having a big rig like this allows me to be able to do. So, anyway, we've gotten super creative with our thoughts, but also with the technologies themselves. Take a look at some of these images, these shots of football, and realizing, wow, the camera, we want to be able to feel like we're in the moment. Somebody scores a touchdown, so can I be there? These camera shots have changed the way we have interacted with sports because now I feel like I'm on the field with them. So, how do you think this is all going to happen? We have to have cameras that can get this stinking close and this smooth. Look at this. Check out the player here for a second. Watch what he's going to do here in a moment. Was it this one? No, this guy right here, I think. He's sitting there about ready to go into the huddle, and maybe that wasn't it. Anyways, one of them, he gives like a double check because he looks and thinks, oh, wait, hey, there's a camera right here. Because, yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening. How these are done, by the way, it's just a person with a camera. But it's much more of you just running around with a camera like this. This is what it looks like. Okay. It is a camera on a very complicated, very expensive system that attaches to a harness, has this weight and computers, and what referred to as a steady cam we'll talk around later. You can watch them, watch any of your sports, and you'll notice these guys running around with these cameras and the kind of smoothness that they get, pretty unbelievable, right? Because motion makes me feel like I'm in the scene. It could be a movie, it could be sports. We want to be in the scene. So the movement of cameras. These are some, I would say low end, but things that people, if they want to be able to purchase themselves, they're called gimbals and stabilizers. You can even get them for your own smartphone here too. We have some of these too. In the perfect world, we can actually check them out, but who knows if that's going to happen. Anyway, let's talk about the kinds of motion that you're going to see here. So name that motion. Here we go. We got quite a few because you're going to play around with these in the lesson. First one is this guy. Who dat? You all know him. It's not a Peter motion. It's actually his last name. Pan. So Peter Pan, or the pan motion, is this one, is a swivel technique. Okay, it is this. It is a have the camera rotate on a swivel from side to side. The definition there is a swiveling the camera from a horizontally fixed position. So it's not moving a whole bunch because it is still set on a tripod or on your own legs. You can do this by tucking your elbows. Everybody, let's all try this. The pan comes from tucking my elbows, getting my feet, maybe even leaning on something, leaning on a tree, and just get a nice slow. The importance on a pan is a slow turn. Look what I'm sitting in here, a wheelie chair. Oh, look at that. That's a nice pan shot right there. Pan. Nice. So that's the pan. Relatively simple, easy to do. What I'm going to have you guys do, you're going to be able to shoot some of this stuff, but also check this out here too. Your task, everybody, within here at home is to identify. I got 3 animated GIFs from a movie down there, and I want you to be able to look at these and go, which one is an example of that swiveling? And then you're going to drag and put that thing right up here. We're going to do this quite a few times, everybody. That's the pan. Next is this pinball. I love me some pinball. Pinball, the ball's got to come from high down low, and you got to stop it. So you can cheat in pinball because you can lift it up. Lift up the whole machine to stop the ball from coming down to make it easier for you. And then the pinball says, no, you can't change the tilt. And if you actually do it, there's got a sensor in all pinball machines that says, stops, and the ball just is done. So that's called tilt. Tilt is changing this. So if pan is side to side, tilt is the same thing. Fixed position, get all stuck. Here's the definition. And let's go up and down, up and down. Okay. Up and down. Same sort of things in terms of if you want to be able to do it. Here is the next task for you to do with your animated GIFs, which is drag it up there. Which one is the best example? Not best. There's only really one. 2 of them don't apply. Kind of like a test. There you go. Which is the tilt. There's the definition of tilt. Anyway, so now these are the next ones in which that the camera itself is actually going to move more than a tripod. So the camera is now going to be moving around a little bit. Some of them got some funny names, but some names that I want you to remember. So I got ways for you to remember, like this one. Ready? Who dat? Country music singing superstar legend of country music, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Pardon, or also known as Dolly, because that's the word. This is Dolly. A dolly is somebody's moving at me, and guess what else is moving? The camera's moving. So if the character, the object is coming at the camera, and they're both moving, that is called a dolly shot, everybody. Character comes towards a moving camera. This is Rocky Balboa, a great example of coming towards us. It could be put on a track like I showed you, or it could be on a car like in Ben-Hur. That's what was done here, shot from a van. Anyway, that is a dolly shot. Similar to a dolly shot's the next one, this. Not a railroad shot, but a track shot. Here's a railroad track, and similar to like what we would do there. A tracking shot could be two directions. If a dolly's towards me, tracking can either be side to side, like you see here, or it could be from behind. And the whole point of it is that I want to be able to feel like I'm following the action. Follow the action. I'm following along from the side or from behind. So here is Jurassic Park, a guy like running away from the something like, oh, it's raining. I got to get my stuff and get back to the car. So as he goes, so do we. We go. That's a tracking shot. Got it? Here's how you do these shots. Oftentimes, tracking shots are a little bit slower. Okay, following the action, and to have a nice smooth thing, you build tracks for a tracking shot. And there you go, folks. Next one. Here you go. Can I be able to drag the appropriate shot from a movie up to there? This one's a little bit trickier because they're all from the same movie. Check that out. Great scary movie of all time called The Shining. Check it out. A Shining. It's spooky. It's old, 1980. But which one is a tracking shot? Next is this bird shot. Birdshot, no. Well, we did bird's eye, similar to bird's eye. This is what I showed you before. It's the type of bird person, people, your people. What is the type of bird is this? It's named like this. Something big that can lift up stuff. This is a crane shot, everybody. A crane is what I showed you before in that background. How can I have a very high thing that the camera is put up on top of to be able to do this thing, which is the camera is going to move usually away from something. We usually think about moving in, but no, you can move away. So here's a great old-timey movie called The Gone with the Wind. And you have a very selfish character. The main character is this woman, and she's trying to find somebody after this battle. And the crane shot allows me to say, as we pull out and away, it ain't just about one person there. It's about the numbers. Check out the sheer numbers of tens, hundreds, thousands of people who are now dead or injured, and you're just sort of focused on this one thing. And the crane shot really lets me see the enormity, the size of all of this. Okay, that is a crane shot. Now, crane shots, you can imagine, ain't as easy to get than just, oh, I can pan. Mr. O.D. taught me, get in a wheelie chair or just rotate my hips. How do I get a crane shot? Buy a crane. No, look at it. You get two people up on a crane. That's an expensive deal. Any guesses of what the modern what we could use nowadays that's much, much cheaper, but there's still a price to it? Did someone say a drone? That is correct. Drones are great examples for this, but you don't even need that. We're going to talk about today's assignment or what we're going to do this week. And you could be able to you live in let's say if you're in a second story house, you could, shoot outside the window. Okay. Or on the top of the banister looking downstairs kind of a thing to get sort of a crane shot. And you can mix it. So if my crane shot is here, it's just not here. I can actually have that move a little bit one way or another, ones side to side as it's going back. So that's a crane shot. And there's your example of, can you pick one of these? Is the crane, drag it up and put it in the right spot. And we're moving on. Next one, combination. This one, push in or push out. Some of you are going to call it a different technique, which I'm going to get to in a second because it's not that. A push in is simply this. The camera is going to move in or out. The camera itself. And what that is here is this is usually very, very slow, and it lets you feel like you're leaning into the conversation. These people are talking. So here's a great scene about here you have the one character, and there's some people sitting around a fire. He wants to hear them. He wants to be part of them. And you're not even listening, folks, but you can tell from the animated GIF there, there's a sense of longing. He wants to be part of this by just the camera work of slowly coming in or coming out. It's going to be different from what I'm going to talk about in a second, the word that you think you're going to want to use. Same thing as before. Drag the right one up. Which one is this? Is the push in. The push in. All again, same movie. Can you name the movie? It's the name actually my equipment room where I keep all my stuff. I got a poster right over there. You see it? Chewie's hanging out next to it. There's the poster. Oh, yeah, right there. Check that out. That, ladies and gentlemen, is called Raiders of the Lost Ark, greatest action movie of all time in a recent poll taken by me of me. Yeah, Chewie, get back in the shot. There he is. Okay, yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Which one is the push in? Next is what most people probably would have called it, the zoom. But the difference here, people, is look at this definition. They're both the same. A zoom and a push in is that you go from out to in. But here's the difference. Watch, ready? This is a push in. The camera moves. Here's a zoom in. Ready? All I'm doing there is I am changing. Let me bring this closer so you can see here. By doing this, same thing with what I'm doing to you guys here, is I'm zooming in and the camera doesn't move. I'm just changing what's called the focal length, changing the lenses. And it's a subtle change, but notice here, by the way, is I like what it says here is that you don't get an emotional statement. So basically, there's somebody outside a window, and if I zoom in, I'm just getting closer to him. Our eyes don't zoom, so it's kind of a little bit unreal. These things can zoom. My eye can't zoom, but you know what my eye or my body can do? It can do this. I can take a few steps closer. So that's kind of the difference. When in doubt, I like to push in and, as opposed to the zoom in. Anyway, next one. Interesting, complicated. Random motion. Also known as what I call shaky camera syndrome. It's nutty because here's the definition of random motion. And you're seeing this a lot nowadays. And that is you just shake it around. That's it. And if the whole point is that I want you to feel energy and motion and chasing and excitement, I guess. So you shake it around. Some people like myself find this a bit distracting. Probably the king of it all is the man behind this movie. His name is Michael Bay. The Transformers is it. Here's on set of the Transformers. And notice you have a couple camera operators. Here's one here. And notice the camera's just going to move around. But notice what's going to come here at the side. Here's a camera that's going to come in on a little car here. And watch the camera move. Literally is bouncing around all over the place. And so this guy, Michael Bay, everybody, is the king of random motion in the movies that he makes. I'm not going to have a poster of Michael Bay up in my room, if you get it. Not a fan. We'll learn more about him. I'm going to show you something. All right, that's it with our motion. Here's a trick question, everybody. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. Jaws, we talked about it. Here's one of the great all-time camera shots. What's happening? Here's a hint. It's not one thing. See if you can guess. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. We'll talk about it next time. All right. So last thing at home to do before you get here is this, which is you're going to watch this. This is a scene from a movie called Hot Fuzz. And so it's the opening scene from the movie. And in this, everybody, what I want you to be able to do is, let me get out of there and you see what it says here. It says you're going to see a lot of movements in this. The director, his name is Edgar Wright. He loves to have the camera move a whole bunch. I want you to tell me over here, type in this and write a couple things. What types of things did you see? There's a lot of them. Which ones really stood out? And why do you think he did some of these ones? What is it doing? So tell me some of your thoughts there. Some of the things that you see in this particular one. Hot Fuzz. Camera motion. That's about it for the at-home stuff. And then the next week, everybody, is here. Here's our task. We're going to make videos. That's what we do in class. Using WeVideo and your cell phone, you're going to do this. Not all of them. I did before, I said use all of them and tell me which one you're being used. I don't want that. You're only simply picking 4 of these 8 different types of camera motion in which that you can demonstrate in a story this time. So unlike the other videos, this one should be about a story. And my request is there's an animal. Okay. An animal type story in which that you're going to do, let's say a tilt, a tracking, a push in, and some random motion. That's it. You don't tell me what the motion, what these motion shots are. You just include them, make a decision yourself. Also, by the way, don't forget our other stuff. Extreme close-up, establishing shots, do those kind of things. I'm not requiring any of them, but you can make yourself a fun story. So start with this. Put a title card of what the story is going to be about, and then maybe start with an establishing shot. That establishing shot, by the way, it could be a crane shot. So if you're going to get something, shoot in the backyard. Why don't you get up high and go outside the second story or whatever, if you got a 2-story house, and do something like that. Now, just don't I want nothing. Let me make something clear. Nothing's getting injured and damaged. Nothing. You're like, I live in a 1-story house, so I'm gonna climb on top of the roof and get this. No, don't do that. Don't get that creative. And you said, but you said filmmakers get creative and they do, like, yes, but safe. but safe, please. Let's not be ridiculous. And next, you can say, well, it's all about animals. I don't have any animals, Mr. O'Donnell. Like, you don't have Godzilla who's attacking me? Do you have a stuffed Godzilla? Because I do. Actually, I don't. I would really like a stuffed Godzilla. But I got a lot of stuffed animals. And you may have some as well, too. And here are just a few. Here's 5 on the bottom that you may want to use, and you don't have to. But how about somebody gets a pet as a surprise? You put a stuffed animal in a box, and somebody opens it up, and then he gets out or something like that. Okay? Or student needs a support animal at school. That's not your normal support animal. That's support pet alligator or something like that. Or maybe there's an animal attack. This could be scary. You could find some scary music. I think WeVideo have me some scary stuff. Anyway, you don't need any music in this stuff. You may want to add some. Catching a loose animal on campus is kind of a fun one. Let me get out of there. Animal, you're like hunting an animal that's on the loose. Or my favorite one is this one. An Animal Planets sort of documentary about documenting the wild animals of Rockland High School. And some of you are looking like, he's got hats. What's with all the hats in his thing? Well, the hats I like because you can do some creative stuff like, hey, you're throwing a hat and then throwing an animal that can come from anywhere. Like, and I like accents. So like, oh, crikey, welcome to Rockland Discovered. We're going to look at some of the wild animals. And here's one of our first ones, I think. Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen, don't know if you knew this, but the flamingo is one of the what do you call the native species? It's the only native species of flamingo that are located in North America or here in Rockland. If we get really close, what's really interesting about these is that they're very docile, except for 1 in maybe 1,000 like to bite. And this one, I got it. It's the one. Anyway, so you could do your little thing on the whatever. And there you go. There's your story about this. And include the different shots. I want show some creativity, folks. On all this, and maybe once we're done with all of these, the first time that we'll throw out the option of anybody want to share their videos. Right now, they've only been for you and for me, and since they're on WeVideo, you guys can share them out with anybody else. We haven't shared them with each other, and we're going to start to do that here. Not required, but some people really like to show off their stuff. So if you get creative with your animal video, that you have the different shots on there. Once we're done with all of this, I'll ask for volunteers who wants to be able to share their stuff out. So anyway, we got about a week or so to work on this thing. Good luck with it. And you got time. Like I said, you can do these things at home. You guys have the opportunities to work on them here at school. I'll talk to you more in class about how, if you want to be able to, go out on campus and shoot the stuff. Now, some of you are thinking like, hey, I don't have any animals, but a stuffed animal. Like, can I bring one in and leave it in your backpack? Yeah. Why don't you bring it back? Why don't you bring an animal in here and you guys can, use your animal hero when you're on campus for the next couple days. And for some of you are like, oh, I really want to do it, but I don't think like we've grown out of that. My parents got rid of all of our stuffed animals. And you're like, I do have quite a big collection, and I can loan you an animal to check out. It'll just be yours. And then when you're done, I'll collect them and put them in a place where they can disinfect and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to be collecting them day after day and wiping them down. But if anybody wants to check out, I can check you out an animal. So let me know. Like I said, a week, but there's not really a due date. But I'd like these done in about a week so we can have a little bit of a film, show off some films. Anyway, that's it for our lesson, everybody. I'm going to put this thing up, and I'll see you all in class. Take care.